welcome to IoT Builders, a live stream where we discuss a range of topics on the Internet of Things, from embedded devices to cloud services, all from an IoT builder perspective. Today is February 8th, and this is episode 16, if you're keeping track. Today we have a special guest. His name is Mark Pous. And an intro about Mark is that he is an IoT giant by stature and, of course, for his advocacy work in IoT. And he's a developer advocate at Balena.io. And Mark has more than experience connecting things to the internet. He is the founder of IoT Barcelona, IoT Munich, and the IoT Stars communities, as well as the IoT Coffee Talk podcast. He creates IoT products, hobby, from a connected sofa for a music festival, ATMs for research project, beer mugs in Munich's Oktoberfest, to Christmas lights that light up when you tweet. Mark has spoken at many international conferences, including the Things Conference, the Internet of Things World event, and mobile. Bring in my co-hosts, Nenad and Alina. Hey, guys.
Hi Dan. How are you doing?
Hello.
I'm doing great. How are you?
All good. Enjoying the not so nice Berlin weather, but yeah, everything's fine here.
Yeah, same on my side. Yeah.
All right. How about you, Nenad?
Yeah, it's same. As I said. Not sure if you can hear me, guys. Is the audio okay?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool.
Great. Okay, so let's see. As a round of introductions, my name is Dan Gross, and I'm a senior developer advocate for AWS IoT, also working on FreeRTOS. And Nenad, Alina, maybe intros for you as well.
Alina, go forward.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So I'm Alina. I'm also a senior developer advocate for AWS IoT. I work mostly in the space of device management and IoT Core, Device Defender, and everything that has to do with connectivity and control.
Yeah, and I'm also a senior developer advocate for AWS IT, and yeah, my expertise are around Edge and the automotive. So looking forward to
All right.
talk with today's guest. Yeah, go on then.
Okay, fantastic. Well, why don't we bring Mark on? And without further ado, let's see. Here we go. Hey, Mark.
Hello, happy to be an IoT builder today.
Fantastic. So, so maybe a little bit about yourself. A quick intro.
Yeah, you already did like a long introduction about me. Yeah, I'm working at I'm developer advocate at Balena. So Balena is a fleet management tool. I'm looking forward to talk about fleet management here and yeah, software updates over the air for IoT and embedded devices. And I also do a lot of community effort on the Internet of Things space, on the IoT Barcelona community, and as well on helping the Things Network community here in Catalonia. And then doing events for IoT professionals for Mobile World Congress and so on. It's called IoT Stars. So yeah, happy to be part of it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we had a a few topics. I think that we talked about covering. But first off, I think that something worth mentioning is that in a few weeks, Embedded World will be coming to Germany, and we will all be there. There will be an AWS booth, and the three of us, plus our colleague Saeed, will all be there. And I hear that you're going to be at Embedded World as well, Mark.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I'm going to be there, visiting some partners, and yeah, and meeting other companies. So yeah, happy to do like an IoT Builder live meetup as well on the AWS booth, if that's possible.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that. So if you're in Nuremberg in March, and you're attending the Embedded World Conference, come say hello to any of us. We'll all be the conversation. What do you think are some of the most exciting developments happening in IoT?
That's a very good question. It's super exciting. Yeah, for me, yeah, working on the fleet management and software updates. What I see is that looks like the IoT it's getting more mature as companies realize that they need to update the software remotely from IoT devices. So I think we were living on a phase now on this limbo in the past where most of the IoT projects were just proof of concepts. No, this POC hell. I don't know. A lot of people just gave different names, and but looks like yeah, when some of the projects succeed, companies and system integrators and product owners they just realize that they need to update the software remotely from companies, and yeah, that's super exciting, honestly. Yeah, well, I'm not answering your question, but yeah, it's for me it's as well super exciting to see a lot of AI in the edge these days. It's really amazing what can be done with putting some machine learning models in the edge and start computing a lot of things there. I'm not sure what do you think? What it's super trendy as an IoT builder for you?
Yeah, I can echo this thing what you mentioned in terms of like building out that infrastructure for secure over-the-air updates and having the unlocking the developers to kind of like deploy new things across the stack. I think that is something that's quite exciting. Yeah. I don't know what others think, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I'd say that it's really quite amazing that it took so long for people to realize how important it is to be able to ship new software over the air and to be able to do security patching fast and so on. And I think it's good also that the regulation is contributing to sort of giving a push towards faster firmware upgrades and faster software over the air. But I'm curious, Mark, what you think about some of the challenges. I mean, why? Because it took a while, right? And it's still taking a while for companies to get there. What do you think the biggest challenges are?
Wow, that's a $1 million question, right? No, you know what? But this is just one point of view. I think a lot of companies reinvent the wheel, and that's really bad for the industry. So I think companies need to start using services that are already there to enabling them to reduce friction and not just reinventing the wheel. Because you can think that just do a software update over the air to your embedded devices. Maybe this is like a 1 week, couple of weeks project, but it's not just that, right? So you want like have security, you want to have something that it's no, but the people don't realize. For example, you need to do operating system updates as well, hostile updates. And yeah, this is not that easy, right? It's amazing how you speak with companies that they don't do hostile updates. I remember speaking with one company that was telling me that they have like a tiny. They were just giving less and less importance to that, but like we have a tiny Linux kernel, but and how old is it? It's 15-year-old, and we don't update. Like what? Are you kidding me? This is not like I don't know. Uh, so this is true. I'm not gonna tell more details, but yeah, this is probably one of the main challenges that companies. I don't know why. And actually today, yeah, this is a chat that I had today with a system integrator here in Catalonia. That they were like, "Yeah, well, we reinvent the wheels. We reinvent. We start from scratch all IoT projects because yeah, we can charge more hours, right? So why
I,
start with the product? No,
yeah,
you are not saving us. You are not reducing us friction. You're just making us to make less money.
yeah.
Mm,
I think it's also a momentum from, like, when the IoT has been starting, it was like what you said, like POC hell, and I think that's still a momentum that we need to, as an industry, go above it, and kind of forget about the POC, but actually, as you said, adapt the technology that are working and build on top of them. Yeah.
mm. But I think maybe it's also to a certain extent just the number of standards that are out there and going around. Many device types with different capabilities and communicating over, being managed over all these different standards. This makes it quite tricky maybe for teams to build
Hmm.
this functionality.
Yeah, this is a very good point, and this is a pattern that we have seen at Balena. So when you're successful on a project, on an IoT project, usually the hardware will change. So you will have different device types running, no? And yeah, if you don't have
Mm,
these basics well done, like these software updates and so on, it's device provisionings, etc. Uh, so what we have seen, it's like, yeah, companies need to run different source codes for the same project because they use different device types instead of just using a tool that enables them to do it, just reusing the same and building for different device types. So it's a bit, it's a bit painful. But you know what? So on my, I created my own startup like 10 years ago. And I remember one of the first leads I had. And that meeting, I discovered that I was speaking with the wrong target audience, which was a CTO. So the CTO was seeing me as a threat for him. So he was like saying, "Wow, what?" So I remember clearly his was like, "Wow, your system works perfect, and if we use your system, so it will cost like hundreds of dollars per month or thousands of dollars per month. But you know what? I'm just convincing the CEO to make a new funding rise of $2 million to do what you did." And they did. And it was funny to meet the CEO a couple of years after that and ask him, "Hey, how many IoT platforms do you have?" And like, "Yeah, don't talk me about these. We have 4 products and 3 IoT platforms." Okay.
mm,
Yeah.
So yeah, these are one of the challenges. If you don't have if you want to do everything
yeah,
yourself and you don't want to
yeah,
get
and I
help.
think
But
it's
on the other hand, on the other hand, the CTO was like, yeah, maybe if I go to the board and I say that instead of raising $2 million, we just use these that cost $1,000 per month, maybe they will fire me, as a CTO because I haven't achieved that technology with that amount of money. So yeah, it's a very tricky. But as you mentioned, I think we are getting out of this and getting into a better situation these days where most of the
Mhm.
companies understand. And one of the things I'm as well trying to convince a lot of companies, hey, we have to work together on a win-win relationship. So stop saying that we are competitors. No,
Yeah.
why? No,
mm,
maybe in some projects we can compete for specific features, but on some
Yeah.
others, maybe we have to collaborate together. So.
I, Yeah, I really like the presentation from Yasser, who's our VPO of AWS IT and reInvent. He finished the presentation by exactly what you're saying, is like, we need to collaborate. We need to, have people or companies and partners with different expertise contribute to this overall IoT story, because that's the only way we kind of go past this, what you said, like reinventing the wheel and actually building something that matters, right? So so I'm really kind of like liking that and seen it, as you said, throughout the years as well.
I remember, Nenad, there was somebody in our IoT Builders show at one point who said that there is no such thing as a competitor. It's just a partnership that you didn't explore yet.
Exactly. Yes,
Uh,
Mark. It was Mark. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think it was Mark. I don't remember
yes,
who it was, but it was
yes,
something that stuck with me. It's
exactly.
actually
Yeah.
a really interesting approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, I'm also really curious, Mark. Do you encounter situations where your customers are basically saying we're going to pull this old set of devices out of the market just because we can't use a common upgrade mechanism for these devices? I mean, do customers really decide to eventually retire IoT devices, or will they just literally work at it and hammer integrating them instead of retiring them?
That's I'm not sure why. Mm, you know what happens? Some really old devices. What it happens at Balena, I can talk about the Balena point of view, but probably there are other realities as well outside Balena. But what it happens is that there are some devices that are really old and from obscure manufacturers, let's say it this way, that we cannot update the operating system. So there is like a very old operating system available for them, and yeah, at some point it's really weird to keep using them or to keep growing a fleet of using those devices. Um, no, but what we have seen is, I don't know, we have seen too many things. One thing interesting at Balena is that we all work on support. So so we can feel the pain of our customers, and that's really interesting. I remember one of the, so we have kind of a lot of Raspberry Pis connected to Balena, and yeah, SD cards are one of the main problems of these devices. Um, and I remember one customer saying that yeah, they need to take a donkey for 3 days to go to change the SD card of the device. So it's it's like yeah, you can feel the pain of a lot of. But actually, what you say, these, I don't know, I haven't seen this. Do you have an example that you can share of this
Um,
happening?
well, I mean, from my experience, I think is different in every industry. But I think the industry where I've seen the most, let's say, striking difference between old generation of devices and new generation of devices, for example, telcos. And
Mhm.
it's quite surprising to me because the routers that we have in our homes, they're very powerful devices. I mean, you can't compare them with small microcontrollers.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, because of how old the protocol that the old generation of devices, I mean, and when I say old generation, I really mean devices that were produced starting, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago. So they're not really that old.
Yeah,
But this
that's
protocol was impossible. It was, it was all session based, and devices have to really call home before the device management platform can do anything. um, so yeah, those devices are still out there with customers, and now comes the question, do we just retire them? Because the new protocol is really real time, the new device management protocol for routers. So it's quite easy to build a really nice device management platform, but then what do you do with the old devices? How do you migrate them, and so on?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one example that I have.
And maybe this opened the door as well to another discussion, which is I don't know if I'm going to open a flow here, but it's like the Google IoT Core service, right? So like maybe you're talking about discontinuing like offering a service to specific hardware, but there are companies that are not being specific services that are really key or core for a lot of products. How do you see that from AWS or from your IoT perspective?
I mean, yeah, it's it's really not so great when you have some services that you rely on uh, more or less to be deprecated. But yeah, uh, the I mean, at the end of the day, depending on what technology you use, you either can go and rely on another managed service, or you kind of start building your own, right? So those are the two options, what you can do in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the AWS perspective, there is a lot of investment, from the AWS teams in IoT. In the case of AWS IoT, I'd say that this is not the case. However, this is, of course, not ideal if you're working with a managed service and it gets discontinued as a general thing. But again, like Nenad was saying, the alternative is really to build it all yourself and manage it yourself. So build it and operate it, which is also a lot of pain if it's not your core competency. So I think that's where it's kind of a trade-off, right? So what do you do? Do you use something managed? Do you build it in-house? Do you go and buy it? These are all different, options that you have when you're building a product, I guess.
Yeah, don't do it yourself if you don't know what you're doing. So use third-party services. Use partners, no? Actually, what we are saying.
Yes, exactly.
Use partners.
Right. I mean, the thing is, it's easy to fall into this trap of actually building a lot. If you have let's say, a team full of geeks who like to dive deep, and you've got a customer, for example, who's giving you a lot of freedom, it's very easy to go into all these rabbit holes of trying to do a lot yourself. But I think there always needs to be a limit, where you stop and say, okay, we've built a POC. Now we need to look at how we can bring this to production and what our best partners would be for this.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I mean, the only justification for this is, as you said, like if you wanna, if you don't know the requirements to what you need, it's okay to start and build something to gather those requirements. But then, if, as you said, Dalina, I like this. Like, if this is not your main competency, then now you know the requirements since you have tried to build it or whatever. Now you can go and shop for something or get something managed.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was working for a digital agency who, had different kind of technology projects with different other companies. We were working on this project of connecting elevators, and we did an MVP. And the MVP literally was connecting about 100 devices to the lifts. And suddenly, out of these 100 devices, I believe it was 20 or 25 that went offline from one day to another. So we were using a partner for hardware from the UK, and that partner had provided us some scripts for the cellular connectivity and for the modem operations and so on. When these devices went offline, clearly we were a bit in panic mode. We were like, "What's happening?" So we called this partner, and we were like, "Okay, well." What's going on?" And they were like, "Well, we don't know. It's time for you to look at the modem scripts." And I thought to myself, okay, well, we can temporarily look at the modem scripts, but then we need to find a more robust solution to actually go forward, because we're not going to start building modem scripts because that's not our core competency. But yeah, it's interesting because problems evolve.
Yeah. Usually people don't realize how hard are the burdens of a lot of places where we need to locate IoT devices. So yeah, there is like a very famous here in Barcelona that they do IoT devices for mines and bridges and places where it's really hard to survive there. And it's this is something that I talked with the former CTO. Like, they invested so many time on making like an industrial grade device with enclosure and everything, and software updates, so it could last almost forever. And people don't realize that if you are installing something inside an elevator, probably you'll have a lot of problems there. No, and as well, it's really hard to go if you cannot access to a device, you have to stop an elevator from a building. It's sometimes it's hard. Yeah,
and I think this is the one of the real big selling points for Balena too, right? Is that a lot of the functionality and capabilities that that service was born out of frustration with updating devices in the field, right?
Indeed, yeah. The origin of Balena started. I don't know if you've been in London, in the financial area, in the city center,
Oh yeah.
where they have this how do you say, this garbage with kiosks with displays showing like the news, etc. So the first project for Balena, it was called Resin. But I think it had another name even at that moment.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
to update all of these garbages, and there were like 130. So there were two people walking around London. It was snowing, stopping by in front of every garbage, opening it with a technician, just put a USB stick there, and then flash a new operating system, a new software. And then at that point, the founder, Alexandros Marinos, just realized that,
Yeah.
they needed to create something to reduce this friction and to avoid to walk every X days around London to reflash
Yes.
Wow,
this kiosk.
that's what people refer to as sneaker net, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So this is what we try to do. We try to help companies to get remote access to their devices, run diagnostics as well. That this is something that Alina mentioned before, right? So you want to, if something wrong is happening to your device, you want to have all the tools available on your fingers, right? To see how can what's going on that device. If it's a problem of the SD card, of the connectivity, of what. And on the other hand, we offer as well. Yeah, this is on the fleet management tool, and on the other side, we offer these software updates over the air and host OS updates over the air. And to do that, we have some particularities. It's interesting because actually on the origin of Balena as well, it's that we are a bit jealous of DevOps and web developers. So on this, now trying to solve this problem of software updates over the air for embedded devices. So basically, we only focus on single board computers. The other thing that it's on the mission of Balena, it's like, okay, why embedded developers cannot use the technologies that DevOps or web developers are using these days? No, why they cannot use Git or Docker or other type of technologies for embedded devices, right? If they are there and they are pretty standard these days, and a lot of people know them.
Robust. I mean, they have been tested in quite different scenarios as well, right? So stress tested. So
Indeed, and cycle times as well. So if you have if you're doing a website and there is a bug on the website, you fix it in minutes, right? Why you cannot do that with your IoT devices? Right. So this is
Yeah, it's a good point because DevOps is really about servers, in a data center or the cloud, and essentially, you're saying devices in the field are, really just like servers in a data center, right? And so why
I'm
not?
not saying exactly that. No, I'm not saying exactly that because that elevators that Alina had problems. This is not like a server in the cloud that you can just shut down and start another one on another region.
Well, that's
no,
true. Yeah. But I guess from a tooling point of view, though, updating, the processes by which these servers are updated can be leveraged, right?
On the DevOps environment, there is this story about the kettle and the pets. So
Oh,
if you have
yes.
like thousands
I remember
of cows,
Alex. I remember Alex describing this. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you have thousands of cows, all of them are similar. If one dies, you just get a new cow, right? Nobody will realize that. But if you have a pet, you don't want it to die. So like IoT, it's more like pets. So these devices are in places where they are pretty accessible in some cases, right? If you're monitoring the windmills in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the ocean or somewhere in the ocean, you don't want to go there to fix something. So, and you cannot do as DevOps, but most of the technologies that they use, they should be yeah, well, they should be available for IoT developers. So actually, a couple of days ago, I was speaking with another guy from the Barcelona community, from the industrial IoT community, and they were mentioning like, yeah, we were on a project that they were using a technology where you need Windows XP between the PLC and the gateway. Like,
Yes.
okay, wait,
Yes.
wait, wait. We are 2023, and this is still a thing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
I've seen those recently as well, so
okay,
it's not a
so
one-off.
okay, so this is a new trend. Okay, got it. But so yeah, we want to start. Yeah, some people yeah have fun of these. But yeah, I want to push this 21st century technologies or toolkits to embedded developers, instead of yeah using the standard things that they have been doing. And this is what we are trying to do with Balena to reduce friction to embedded developers.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good idea. I think there are two different, sort of issues that you discovered. I mean, the one with the DevOps tools, it's all about making the development cycles easier, faster, less expensive. So developers can actually build on virtual hardware, for example, test on virtual hardware, and so on. And have this kind of nice, neat end-to-end experience from the moment you build the software to getting it deployed and tested, and so on. And then, of course, there is the problem of IoT being, the nature of IoT. If you've got 100 devices and one of them goes offline, you're saying, well, it's one device. But then if you go to millions, 10 millions, and then you've got 1% of your fleet having a problem, you really need to investigate what's going on that 1%. And that's where you need remote monitoring tools, and you need, observability in your platform, and fleet management. So these are kind of two different things to tackle.
Yeah, and then we are thinking on the side of the things, no, but think on the talent of a company, right? Is it easier to hire someone who knows Docker, Python, than someone who knows, I don't know, whatever C version that you need for that specific embedded device? So yeah, we are trying to democratize as well these. So if you start using these new tools, yeah, maybe more engineers will be excited to work on your company doing IoT products, instead of if you need like the version XYZ of C to just compile or cross compile on your IoT devices.
Yeah, and I think we talked this as well. It's like it's not only that; it's also that the the universities, the boot camps, whatever not, they are mostly teaching people to write these high level languages, and then on the other sides, like the expertise in embedded systems, like microcontrollers, or what you said, like writing things in C, is kind of like limited nowadays, and it's really hard to find good expertise. So even that, if you extrapolate from this data, is like more likely if you enable those people to still write in like Python, even JavaScript. You get a pool of talent, right?
No, this is a discussion we had internally at Balena. So I didn't describe what is Balena for people who only knows maybe Etcher. But what we do, so to run Balena on a device, you need to run Balena OS, which is a Linux open source operating system. And Balena OS, it's an operating system optimized for running Docker containers. So you cannot run anything on the host OS. And we were having this discussion. We make this Balena Hub, which is a marketplace for IoT and edge applications. And we were saying like, okay, should we build like a tool that it's like a Docker Compose? Docker Compose, it's a tool to build multi-container applications. So should we build like a composer tool with a UI where you just select the services that you want to run on your device and automatically generate a Docker Compose? Or should we teach developers about all the details of Docker containers and Linux operating system and so on? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a very good question to know. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think we touched this briefly last time, but I'm more in this direction of like, educating people in terms to use the technologies that are already robust and developed. And I believe that it's not that hard, because there's a lot of already information out there available for free. And as I said, like boot camps and even the universities are teaching those. So the strategy, what I would pick would be just to find the diff between what is already out there and like what needs to be on top of this to kind of have those applications be ready to be deployed on edge devices, and then kind of broadcast the diff, um, rather than creating the new tooling and like over engineering and so forth. I mean, again, this is my opinion. I would rather lean in that direction than the other. So,
I mean, I think whatever way you go, you need to make sure that it is flexible enough for whatever the developer needs are. Because very often what happens with this sort of UI triggered or UI based, let's say, code implementations or whatever, when you're trying to somehow abstract, you need to be careful to expose enough for developers to still have the flexibility to build what they need to build. Because if you're using the UI and then you're trying to get something done and you realize that you're blocked by what the user interface allows you to do, and there is no way to go around those limitations, then it's not going to be really, let's say, liked by the developer community. I mean, sometimes I think I've mentioned this before, I find myself having this feeling about declarative versus imperative, ways of building. And I look sometimes at CloudFormation versus CDK. It's a really good example of this. If you open the debate, which one's better, people who probably have used CloudFormation for years would say that CloudFormation is nice because it's contained, and you might not want to write your infrastructure as code in an imperative manner, because then you have many ways of doing the same thing, whereby the declarative language is more compact. But then when you come towards the limitation of it being declarative,
yeah.
And there is something you can't express, then it's pretty bad, right? And the same with step functions. Sometimes I have the same kind of feeling.
Mm. Yeah, I think abstractions are a nice way in some cases, if done well, to accelerate, a process or an understanding of something. And so you can be more productive sometimes with visual representations, things like that. But I think, yeah, both points where understanding the underlying architecture or the underlying implementation is also pretty important. If you run into limitations, it kind of struck me. There's a tool out there called Node-RED, which I really enjoy using. I think it's a great visual tool and a way to wire up applications. And I think Node-RED also maybe has similar debates about whether writing applications with Node-RED is really learning learning the underlying mechanics of the application, or just putting together a visual. But it's fun and fast to use, so it's hard to argue with that.
So that's a very point. Yeah, no, right. It's as well an example of these. Yeah, actually, one of the push that we are doing with the Balena community, it's toward this mean stack, which means mean stays for MQTT, InfluxDB, Node-RED, and Grafana, which are open source tools. That we want to compare this with the LAMP stack, the Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP, that enable and reduce a lot of friction for a lot of people who wanted to get introduced into the web development like 20 years ago. And we are trying to push this Ming stack as this IoT stack that can reduce friction for a lot of web developers who want to move into IoT development. So you just build all the services that you need to get data and just put it on through MQTT or whatever on the Node-RED, and just reduce the friction in Node-RED, and then just visualizing the edge with Grafana and storing the data automatically with influence.
I love that. I think that's great. So the N in Ming stands for Node-RED. I see. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. But then you can change, right? So you can say like, okay, so instead of, I'm gonna say name, sorry for that, but instead of Node-RED, I want to use Telegraph, which is basically like a similar, not a similar tool because it's no code, low code, but no, it just forwards data from one input to another output. So yeah, if you people, yeah, were using InfluxDB, something else. So it was funny when I was doing this presentation on the Node-RED conference this year, last year, that yeah, a lot of people in the audience was like, yeah, sure. So I was using this stack with that, yeah, we can call it Bean. Or some other people was like, oh, I'm using Gene, like Grafana, InfluxDB, and Node-RED, no MQTT. So yeah, I think if we can kind of standardize something like this, we can help a lot of new developers to get introduced into the IoT and become IoT builders.
Mm. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, with abstractions, yeah, you can attract people, and then if they are there at using the technology, then they can dive deeper into understanding and so forth. So that's
Yeah,
also
indeed.
one way to kind of look at it as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about balancing abstraction and flexibility. And if you've got that, then I think
Yeah,
it's all good.
it's hard to get it right, but like if you get that, then yeah, you get
Are you
that
getting
mass
some
adoption.
good feedback on this on Ming on the Ming stack? Or are you seeing some
Yeah,
some
absolutely. Yeah,
adoption? Yeah.
and the funny story is that then speaking with people from the community, you realize that a lot of people is using it. For example, yesterday I published a blog post on the Balena blog. If you go to blog.balena.io, and it's like how to convert a legacy factory into a digital factory using Ming, the Ming stack. and yeah, so I was working on this Ming stack, and in parallel on this industrial blog post, well, application actually. And then I was like connecting the dots, like, oh wow, wait, I'm doing this industrial IoT example, and it's using the Ming stack that I'm talking on other forums about. So yeah, a lot of people using it. And then by serendipity, like a LoRaWAN gateway that another developer from the community was building, it was bringing as well Node-RED, Grafana, and InfluxDB just to create like a private LoRaWAN network running in the edge with the thing stack. And then using Node-RED, Grafana, and InfluxDB, you could visualize the data from the LoRa sensors connecting to that network. So I started by seeing like a lot of examples. At some point, I opened my eyes and like a lot of edge applications were running these services just to were like a super like a really quick no-brainer tools to start seeing what was happening.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. It looks pretty cool. maybe we can share it afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't share it. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's really nice what can be done these days. No, as we mentioned at the beginning, with the maturity of the IoT space, we see more and more service available everywhere. And I think, yeah, if you want to focus just in the edge, you can do a lot of things with open source technologies as well. So I think this is really nice. I can see you all three reading the blog post instead of listening to me.
Yeah, it's a great blog post. I posted it in the comments section here, so anybody wants to have
Awesome.
a look, and we'll put it in the description of the video once the live stream is over as well.
Awesome, thank you.
So Mark, you mentioned open source just now. So can you talk a little bit about open source and Balena?
Mm-hmm. So we always focus on open source as a good approach to connect with the community. So as I mentioned before, Balena, if you want to run Balena on your devices, you need to run this Balena OS, which is a Linux operating system based on Yocto. So you can go to GitHub and find it and just do whatever you want with it. As I mentioned before, it runs only Docker containers. So the Docker engine, it's based on Docker Mobi. We call it Balena engine. It's as well open source. It has some adaptations to make it very reliable, to enable these containers to run over long periods of time for the operations that they need to do. And then on the top of that, you will need this fleet management tool. So we have our premium tool, which is Balena Cloud, where you can connect apps and devices for free. Or you can use Open Balena, which you can deploy on AWS, for example, if you want, or wherever you want, and just run all of this tool from an open source perspective. So yeah, it's the only thing that Open Balena doesn't have, the open source version of Balena Cloud. It doesn't have any UI, so you have to run everything on CLI. And the other thing that it's not available is the HostOS updates. But yeah, we've seen on the community some developers that made a really nice UI. And yeah, but we really think that it's really interesting to bring value to the community, putting all of these services on as open source, and I think it gives a lot of credibility. I also discussed with a lot of people, and I'm doing these podcasts on IoT Coffee Talk, where some IoT experts there are against open source tools. But yeah, I think it gives a lot of credibility if you have it open source, as everyone can check what they are running, behind or on the background. Instead of just trusting, you can trust a big brand, but sometimes, as we said, if you reinvent the wheel and you are not open, sometimes you don't know what to do.
No, I mean,
look all these IP cameras, right?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I mean, having it in that arrangement is like, you can replicate on your own if you have the expertise in doing things. But then again, like, you are building infrastructure, and if you're not, your core product is not infrastructure building, then it makes sense to kind of like outsource this. But still, you can explore this and make sure that it fits you, even without engaging in deeper relationship with Balena and so forth, and just relying on a community, which is, I think it's a really good model.
As we all are all on support, we also provide support to developers who use Open Balena. So for us, it's really valuable to get feedback from the community. And actually, the API endpoints are exactly the same on the open source version or the premium version. So it's good to get feedback and to see. So basically, the community and feedback gives us the direction where we have to go. So it's really interesting, and it helps a lot as well. So today I was reading on our forums a ticket. A developer was saying that they had like 900 devices on Open Balena, and they moved it to Balena Cloud because they were tired of managing their own infrastructure. So this is sometimes some of the customers convert. In the blog, I think we have as well other use cases where, in museums and things like that, there are companies that use Open Balena and they are very happy. So I think it's really nice that, having said that, I didn't mention this, but if you run something on Balena, there is no lock-in. So you can run more or less the same code with minimal changes with Linux and Docker. So it's like, you're not forced to use Balena forever if you want to change. So I think this is really important when you do a big project to be sure that there is no lock-in mechanism.
One of the things that we've seen as a trend is kind of like having your OS build for example, EC2. So we have like a Yocto recipes to kind of like generate an AMI for EC2, and then maybe we can take a look at this deeper. I mean, have like a Balena OS run on EC2, and then go through that pipeline of delivering application, testing them in the cloud, and so forth, and then making sure like everything is working, simulating some devices, simulating some sensors, and then making sure everything is working, and then migrating this to a fleet or something like that. That would be a really interesting thing that I would like to see. And we've seen the trend in kind of like testing in the cloud and then moving.
No. It's a real trend actually, and we were kind of not surprised. But for example, yes, this is very freak, but at Belena, so Balena Cloud is running on AWS. It's serendipity. So I'm not. I don't think I'm here because we use AWS. But it's funny that so the machines on AWS are using Balena OS, and actually we see. So actually, it's funny that we manage Balena Cloud from Balena Cloud.
Nice.
But on the other hand, we see more and more customers as well using Balena OS on AWS or infrastructure as a service systems. And then there is this blog post of as well virtualizing devices on the cloud. It's as well a trend that we see more and more. So for people who are not into, probably everyone who listens to this, we had like a chip shortage. I'm not sure if we are still in there. I think so.
I think there
so we
is,
built
yeah.
this Balena. So we try to virtualize IoT devices with Kimu, and we see like a lot of it got a lot of. So we put that application on Balena Hub, and we saw like a lot of people, hundreds of people using it and virtualizing their IoT devices on infrastructure. And we were exploring if this was like an interesting field to dig more or not, but it's interesting, I think.
I mean, it also goes in hand with this like time frames of cycles of development. Like if you look at the mechanical engineering, it takes like months and months, maybe years, and then electrical engineering, all that stuff, right? Designing your own boards, the iteration cycles are like in months, and then you come to like software, which is in weeks. So it makes sense to, if you have something that you can emulate as close as possible to the hardware, just have it there, have your development cycle for your software being done, and then once the other parts are there, like just try it out and deploy it on real hardware. But
Yeah, absolutely. No, we see more and more, as mentioned before, right? So as well, some of the tools that we see on DevOps or web developers with continuous integration, continuous deployment, no? We see more and more innovations on this side as well, of virtualizing hardware and using these continuous integration, continuous deployment, going from virtual devices to real devices. So I think I hope that this new type of do things are gonna be something trendy really soon and stop doing FTPs to deploy. I'm sure
really,
that all of you have seen
The
this.
original OTA. Yeah.
I don't think FTP
Yeah.
will die anytime soon.
No, of course not. But I've seen too many times this. But it's no, absolutely. I think this is something that we are exploring, and let's see where it goes. But it's a good solution for these times where hardware is not available.
That's excellent. Hey, we mentioned at the beginning, just to switch gears a little bit about this IoT community that you're involved with, IoT Stars. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that in some of our final minutes here, leading up to
Sure.
Embedded World, of course. It sounds like there'll be a presence there for that. Maybe just give us a little run through about IoT Stars.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm based in Barcelona. So one of the big events that are happening here is Mobile World Congress. So there used to be, well, last year it was big as well, but there used to be like 100,000 people coming just for the Mobile World Congress. It's an event focused on mobile technology. And from my IoT perspective, I wanted to meet IoT people. I had this hypothesis that a lot of IoT people were coming to Barcelona. So I decided one year to test and to do like an IoT meetup from the IoT Barcelona meetup for free, and like 500 people registered.
Oh, wow.
And that was so a lot of companies wanted to sponsor it, and it was insane. So the next like 250 people show up. So it was too many people, and then so I decided that the year after that to kind of professionalize that and create like a more professional event on an auditorium and not like a meetup with the speakers and keynotes, etc. And actually the first editions of IoT Stars were more focused on, that was like the 2012, 2013, so like 10 years ago, where a lot of IoT startups were appearing, right? There was like a fever of IoT startups at that moment. So we what we were doing is like selecting like 10 IoT startups and just bringing them to do like a 2-minute pitch in front of a very top jury members that were working on the IoT and then doing some networking. And actually the format liked a lot. But yeah, we shift a bit towards more like professional talks and networking. And this is what we are going to do this year at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. But as well, we test last year to do it on Embedded World, as it's focused a lot on embedded, but IoT people, it's a bit different community. And we want to, we were the second edition as well on Nuremberg. So all of you are invited to join.
Excellent.
Nice,
Yeah, that
nice.
sounds fantastic. Well, I can't wait to see you in Nuremberg coming next month. Actually, it's coming up quick.
Exactly, it's 14th of March. Okay, so it's time flies. We're almost in we're almost in March 2023. What
Okay.
else?
Well, thanks so much for your time today, Mark. I really appreciate you spending it with us, and some really great topics we covered today. And I learned that data center servers are cattle and IoT devices are pets. So this is great.
I didn't invent this, so actually, I learned this from our CEO, our founder, Alexander Marinos, on a talk that he gave like a long time ago. Probably you watched him like doing a presentation, right?
Yes,
Some years ago.
I do recall. Yes. Yeah, fantastic. He had that big board of Raspberry Pis with screens on them updating in real time, right?
The best,
What?
the beast, That was it was the biggest Raspberry Pi cluster at that moment. It was like 200 Raspberry
Yeah.
Pis. But now,
Yeah, it
all
was
the people
huge.
just made more. And then as well, something, if you want to do archaeology on YouTube, there is a really amazing talk of him doing a software update over the air to a drone.
Yes. I wanted to mention this in our talk today. Yeah, the drone update in real time is phenomenal. We'll share that link also in the description, and once we end the broadcast here.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
well,
make it happen.
yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. Really appreciate, like I said, your time today, and really great discussion. Can't wait to see you next month.
Awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to meet all of you. See you at least on the
Awesome.
AWS booth, or see you at the IoT Stars.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right,
Awesome.
thanks all. Until next week, have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Mark.